we've got a lot of stuff to go over before I even get to the SmackDown review. So let's get to it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, with what will eventually be the July 11th edition of the SmackDown review. But first, I've been saying it a lot recently, let's get rid of the house cleaning. But there's a lot of house cleaning. There's a whole fucking clipboard of house cleaning. So let's talk about that first. First and foremost, let's talk about Great Balls of Fire. Now, not a fan of Raw, you guys know this. A big supporter of SmackDown, you guys know this as well. SmackDown will not outdo what Raw did at Great Balls of Fire with their Battleground pay-per-view. 2 gimmick matches that are both shitty coming up on the SmackDown pay-per-view. Sorry, I sound like shit. I feel like shit as usual. But Great Balls of Fire was fun. Joe, everybody's saying Joe got squashed. Is bullshit. He had a great match. Hardys are one step closer to being broken, which is a point that has been driven into the ground. The Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman thing speaks for itself. The Kurt Angle thing on Raw is just getting strange. I mean, I have my opinions and my theories on what that might be, but the biggest thing for this channel, seeing as we don't talk about Raw on this channel, was the pay-per-view Pick 'em for Great Balls of Fire. I really love that you guys have sort of embraced this concept that I've been doing, that I've been incorporating in with the previews that I do along with Kristen and Guapo. I blatantly ripped off this idea from the Taz show. I have no qualms about saying that. They did it once or twice on their show. I liked the idea. I thought I could incorporate it. I did it. I was really hoping you guys would jump on board. I thought it was gonna end up being just myself and Kristen and Guapo, the ones that are on the show, that hopped on board. We had 12 people playing along this time around. So, in all due regard, let's talk about the scores. Melvin Michaels, big supporter on Twitter. Thank you for jumping in. He actually had his predictions included in our prediction video, because he actually got them to me ahead of time. He got them to me before we did the prediction video. So his predictions got included in the prediction video. So thank you for that. He got 12 points. Me, I got 15 points. Fuck me, it's my game, and I came in 11th place. Black Hat Feline and Fortune 4 Shooters each got 16 points each. Guapo, the first ever winner of the pay-per-view Pick'em, got 19. Salvador Salcido, who creates all the great graphics for this channel, came in at 21. Cheney, the first 2-time winner of the pay-per-view Pick'em, came in at 25. Julian Barros, who I owe a... Barros or Burrios, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, man, my bad, who's been promoting the hell out of this channel on Facebook. Thank you for that. He came in at 26. One of the usual suspects, Mizark10, came in at 26 as well. One of my coworkers, actually, Alex, got in on this. He got 29 points. Matt Donnelly got 30. And with 32 points, your winner of the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view Pick'em is strifenineteen. So go check out strifenineteen. I'll be saying that for the remainder of the week. Lots of fun. Even though Battleground isn't going to be nearly as good as Great Balls of Fire, we will be doing another Pick'em in 2 weeks. Please join us for the preview, join us for the predictions, and participate in the pay-per-view Pick'em if you choose to. As you can clearly see, I'm not making any money on this channel. There are no prizes for this. I'm sorry for that. It's just playing along for the fun of it. You get a quick shout out like Strife just got right there. There's nothing on the line. It's just purely for fun. I'm so glad you guys have decided to come along and join in on that game. I find it a lot of fun, and I find it a lot of fun doing all, you know, the mundane part of it, just the scorekeeping and the Twitter updates and all that sort of thing that I do during the pay-per-view. I'm enjoying that as well because I think you guys are enjoying that. So thank you for bringing another fun element to this channel for me. I think it's really great. I can't, as I say, like I say with this, I say with the Q&A, I say with all the other stuff, the preview videos and all that. If it wasn't for you guys, if it wasn't for the guys that I get to work with, if it wasn't for you guys that participate back, this channel wouldn't nearly be as fun for me. So thank you very, very much for that. Big news over the weekend, before Great Balls of Fire even hit, AJ Styles winning the United States Championship at a house show at Madison Square Garden. And you got people like I don't know, JD from New York. I like JD. JD is one of, I don't know JD. JD does sure as fuck doesn't know me. But I love his podcast. He's got a good podcast. He's got a good YouTube channel. I'm a huge fan. But I heard him going off pretty crazily about this, about how, you know, they jumped the gun, they didn't give us a battleground, rah-de-rah-de-rah. And here's the thing, not only him, but other people as well, saying, why would you do something like this at a house show? Nobody gives a shit about house shows. First of all, I don't agree with that, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Second of all, if you say nobody gives a shit about house shows, you are the reason that they do something like this. Plus, it's not just a house show, let's be real. WWE for big events has gone to bigger venues, has gone to stadiums and whatnot for WrestleMania, whatever. But don't deny that Madison Square Garden is the unofficial home of WWE. A house show at Madison Square Garden is not just a house show. Don't delude yourself. Also, we're going to get this match again. And people are saying that they want Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles at SummerSlam or WrestleMania or whatever the case may be. And again, certain people say, well, you can't do AJ Styles and Nakamura until WrestleMania. That's the only way you can do it. Fuck off. If they want to do Nakamura versus Styles at SummerSlam, I'm all in. But here's the thing. If they had waited to drop the United States Championship to AJ Styles at Battleground, Kevin Owens would have gotten his rematch at SummerSlam, or fans would have cried, how come Kevin Owens didn't get his rematch at SummerSlam? So here you go. Drop it at a house show. Make it a newsworthy thing, because it is a newsworthy thing. It does bring a little more attention to their house shows if you can create the illusion that cool shit like this always happens, which we know it doesn't. They can go in, they can have the rematch at Battleground, which, like I say, is shaping up to be kind of a lackluster pay-per-view at the moment. And then they can go on and do Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles at SummerSlam. I mean, do you really want Shinsuke Nakamura still fighting Baron Corbin at SummerSlam? No, you don't. Also, side note, house shows aren't as shitty as you think. Yeah, they're not typically full of things that are going to drastically change the company, but because of that, they're a lot more fun. They're a lot more loose. There's a lot less filler because they're not making room for commercials, etc. Go to a house show. If you're a city, we don't get a lot of Raws and SmackDowns in Toronto anymore like we used to. So we get a lot more house shows. I spend a lot more time at the Rico than these days, the Rico Coliseum, than I do at the Rogers Centre or the Air Canada Centre, because we just don't get as many. I haven't been to the Air Canada Centre since Survivor Series and TakeOver Toronto last year. But I spend a lot of time at the Rico. If you live in one of those cities that typically gets Raw or SmackDown or pay-per-views, if you live in LA, if you live in I don't know, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, all these big wrestling cities that usually get the big shows. Go enjoy your big shows. Do it. Go enjoy the pay-per-views. If you get a WrestleMania, go enjoy the WrestleMania. But my suggestion to you, from the bottom of my heart, if a house show comes through your town, go to the house show. They're fun. They're not serious. They're not necessarily part of the main storyline. You could get stuff there that doesn't make any sense. You can get baby faces that are heels, heels that are baby faces. You can get a lot of funny scenarios. You can get a lot of situations where the wrestlers just go out and fuck around with the crowd, which is cool. I'm not saying they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but if you're only used to going to televised events, do yourself a favor, hit up a house show. AJ Styles winning at a house show at Madison Square Garden. Also, AJ Styles, with the status that he has, people right now thinking he's like the best wrestler in WWE, which I can't really argue with, him having a fantastic moment like this at Madison Square Garden ain't too shabby for his resume either. I'm just putting that one out there. So AJ Styles wins the United States Championship. Good for him. Happy for him, seeing him with the United States Championship, which we're going to talk a lot about later on. Not a bad thing at all. I'm really, really saying. Dixie Carter is on WWE programming. Dixie Carter was part of the Kurt Angle WWE 24 special that aired on Monday. I recorded it. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to be completely honest with you. But they had Dixie Carter on there to talk about, I guess, Kurt Angle's time spent in TNA, which makes sense because he spent more time in TNA than he did in WWE. So it's all good. Dixie Carter is under the WWE umbrella for one night, or is she? A lot of people said basically three things about this big controversy, the big texting controversy that's happening on Raw. Now, there's three different things that this could be. One is Stephanie McMahon, and there's a lot of history there, but it goes back like 10 years, and a lot of fans won't even know what they're talking about. But it would get you to Triple H versus Kurt Angle at SummerSlam, which I wouldn't complain about. The other is Dixie Carter, which The only way they're going to include Dixie Carter in a storyline in WWE with Kurt Angle is if WWE is fully willing to, as part of their weekly programming, acknowledge the existence of TNA. Which, considering TNA doesn't exist anymore and it's all GFW or whatever the fuck Jeff Jarrett's doing now, they might actually do. Global Force isn't anything you really want to talk about right now, considering the scandals surrounding Alberto Del Rio, which I'm not going to get into, because fuck it. That's cool too. The other thing, and this is something I'm really not a fan of, I do not give, like, how can I say this? I'm going to try and say this without being controversial too much. WWE said in the middle of last year they were going to go ahead and try to include LGBT storylines in their programming. Now, here we go. I have a lot of friends that fall under some spectrum of the LGBT community. I have a lot of family members that fall under some spectrum of the LGBT community. But the rumor is that the love interest of Kurt Angle that's going to be revealed next week could be Corey Graves. No. Just no. And if we have to go with the rumored Bayley and Corey Graves storyline to avoid this, go for it. Because Bayley's fucked anyway. Just no. The other thing that happened over the course of the weekend was we got the news that Austin Aries asked for his release. He asked for his release, or WWE released him, one or the other, or the other, or the other. Now, this is really fucking sad. Back when TNA was at least kind of good, I was a big fan of Austin Aries. He did the whole Option C thing with the X Division title, elevating himself to the world title. Had a good feud with Bully Ray over the title, you know, the David versus Goliath bit. I was really excited when he got to NXT. I didn't really care much about him teaming up with Roderick Strong because I didn't know a lot about Roderick Strong at the time. He got injured, which sucked, which seemed to cut his NXT career real fucking short. They put him on commentary for 205 Live, and that pigeonholed him in the Cruiserweight division. If I was him, I would have said fuck off too. Like I say, huge fan of Austin Aries. Hate that he's not going to be on my TV anymore, because fuck if I'm going to watch him on GFW or ROH or whatever else he's going to do. Why is he not feuding with The Miz for the IC title right now? That's another thing we could get into at a later date. Rollins and Ambrose and all that bullshit. But that's another story for another day once again. Really, really shitty. If he asked for it, I can't be mad at WWE if this guy asked for his release. That's fine. It is what it is. It just sucks that one of the guys that I would love to get behind in WWE is not there anymore, and that's just, I'm not going to go on a big diatribe about it. WWE failed this guy in multiple ways. I don't blame him for asking for his release. I can't be mad at him for asking for his release, and I can't exactly be mad at WWE because all they did was grant a release to a guy that asked for it, but still kind of shitty. Now back to the typical house cleaning. Up in the annotation right there, there's two things I want you guys to take a look at. One is the Q&A that I plug every week. You have 3 more weeks to get your questions in for the July edition of Ask the Phoenix. Please toss your questions in the comment section of the May edition of Ask the Phoenix, and the July edition will be coming out the week after Battleground. I'm not going to be doing the Q&A the same week I'm doing the preview and the pay-per-view pick 'em and all that. It's just too much, and I actually do, believe it or not, have some other things to do in my life. The other thing you're going to see up in that annotation right there, upcoming very soon, is the Mae Young Classic. They released on Twitter, or not on Twitter, on the WWE's YouTube channel, one of the qualifying matches, which is Aaliyah from NXT, who you guys know I'm a really big fan of, my hometown girl, etc., versus a relative unknown in Bianca Belair. So I did a little video reviewing that qualifying match, just to give you guys a little bit of a taste of what my coverage of the Mae Young Classic will be like. Check that out if you will, pass it around if you will. Let me know down in the box below if you guys are looking forward to the Mae Young Classic and my coverage of said Mae Young Classic. The last thing, but not the least thing, is I have a new Twitter. Because the old one got fucked up. Nobody hacked me. Nobody, like, fucked with me or anything like that. There was a glitch. I don't know what the hell it was. I'm not that technical. All I know is I could log on to Twitter. I could see Twitter, but I couldn't post anything on Twitter. So at Spaz Phoenix no longer exists. You want to get at me? You want to go at Spaz Phoenix and the number 1. So at Spaz Phoenix 1 is the new Twitter handle because I'm just that creative. Most of the usual suspects in the comment section, I went out of my way to find myself because you guys are great. The way you guys share around this channel, etc. Most of the people that I follow, I went and tried to find before I shut the other one down because it wasn't working. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, if you want to get involved in the Why do I have a fluff on the side of my face? I don't know. If you want to get involved in the general lynch mob that is already developing because I'm a terrible person because I hate Naomi, go follow me on Twitter. It's good fucking times. Twitter, I was gone for a hot minute and I'm back and I love you. Now, let's talk about the July edition of SmackDown. Starts with a replay of last week's United States #1 contender battle royal, AJ winning, obviously. Transitions right into AJ winning at Madison Square Garden. But it was really cool the way this was shot. Because you know it was shot by WWE cameras. But it's still a very, very different feel getting the single camera. Sorry. The single camera shot combined with, obviously they went online on YouTube and found a lot of different fans, like cell phone images of the win and all that sort of thing. It makes it feel like... makes it feel like it's not a televised event, you know what I mean? It makes you feel like you were kind of there. It makes you feel like, you know, my buddy was at the show and happened to show me his video on his phone, that type of thing. And it gave it a cool, different feeling, and it made it feel extra special. AJ Styles on Twitter talking about what it meant to him to win at Madison Square Garden, etc. The show obviously opens up with AJ Styles coming out. Sorry that I sound like shit. Comes out to AJ Styles chants, "This is awesome," chants, "You deserve it," chants, etc. Says Battleground came early at Madison Square Garden. So for guys like JD who are really mad about that, there you go. AJ Styles acknowledged it. I'm the better face of America since Kevin Owens has the face of a monkey butt, which is nice. Talks about the John Cena Open Challenge and it being... He basically talks about how John Cena was the last U.S. champion that mattered, and because he brought prestige by doing the Open Challenge. He says, "I'm going to bring it back. The U.S. title has been overlooked for way too long." He calls out the entire roster, and the crowd predictably chants USA. Not to be somebody whose ears are burning too long, the answer is from John Cena. He says, "You don't realize what you just said. You must be saying that this challenge is for anybody but me," to which AJ Styles responds, "No, man, actually, this is especially to you." He accepts. They get a ref down. They're going to start the match. Here's the deal, too. John Cena says, "Let's get a ref down," and they wait a second, because I think the referee was like a half second delayed or whatever. They don't pan up to the ramp or anything like that, but the crowd does react when the referee actually comes down. First time Charles Robinson has gotten a pop in his life. I'm just putting that one out there. Cena versus Styles. They make the announcements. They, you know, here's your champion, here's your challenger, ding, 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 they're all ready to go. And Kevin Owens' music hits. And he says, "Nobody wants this. Nobody cares about this. We've seen it too many times. They don't care about you, John Cena. Nobody wants to see you. They want the man who rightfully deserves that United States Championship." Cena calls out Owens. He calls out Styles. Says he's going to take out Owens. Says he's going to take Styles' title. And gets attacked by Rusev and his fucking awesome beard. Oh, yes. Pop-up bomb to Styles by Owens, super kick and an accolade to Cena by Rusev, and when we get back from the commercial break, the spirit of Teddy Long, as my buddy O'Kayfabe would say, rears its ugly head, and we've got a tag team match in the main event, playa. I'm really, really white. Fuck me. Jinder Mahal versus Ty Dillinger for reasons. We go from not seeing Ty Dillinger at all. He went from being the absent 10 to fighting the WWE champion. And I find this really funny, and I mentioned this on Twitter as well. 6 months ago, Jinder Mahal would have been a jobber for Ty Dillinger to beat in his debut match on the main roster. Oh, how the times have turned. Collar and elbow tie up and a hip toss by Jinder, elbow by Dillinger, second rope crossbody by Dillinger, and a headlock by Jinder. Choke on the ropes by Jinder, right hands, and the right hands get returned by Dillinger. Boot and a mounted 10 punch by Dillinger. He hops off, hops back on, and gives him another 10 punch. Crowd obviously doing the 10 chant, which we all love. Kalash gets the win for Jinder, and he takes about 3 minutes to say blah blah blah, America sucks, and I tune out. And ultimately I go back to Twitter and see if anybody's, you know, flagged me yet. Xavier Woods versus Jey Uso, once again, for reasons. Gut shot by Woods to start, and, my writing sucks, but sometimes it really sucks. Gut shot by Woods and shots to the back. There we go. Tornado forearm by Woods and crossface blows in the turnbuckle. He gets tripped by Jimmy. The ref tosses out all the extras. Jimmy Uso, Big E, and Kofi Kingston. Woods tries for a surprise roll-up, and there's a super kick by Jay. Splash by Jay is blocked by Woods, and they trade some punches. Woods does a really cool thing. He sort of sets him up pendulum style on the second rope. Imagine how somebody... drapes on the rope face down when they're about to get the Orton suspension DDT. Imagine that, but face up. And Uso just kind of stands there and sort of waits for Xavier Woods to hit his top rope elbow drop. Now, this is a really cool spot on the one hand because he's basically elbow dropping him out of midair. But on the other side of the coin, it's got the same problem as... I'm going to bring him up again, even though he's so popular right now. Remember Alberto Del Rio had that move where he hung somebody up in the corner and then he did the double foot stomp. But for the double foot stomp to work, his opponent basically had to sit up into position. It made no sense at all. And while this Xavier Woods spot was awesome looking, and he pulled it off like this, it required Jay to basically make sure he stayed balanced on the rope, which is a little contrived if you ask me. Backstage with Shane McMahon, Naomi is squawking for reasons, but the rest of the division come in to save the segment. Shane makes a match at Battleground. Charlotte versus Natty versus Becky versus Tamina versus Lana, which pisses everybody off, and it's going to be an elimination match, and the winner's going to face Naomi at SummerSlam. So, once again, like tonight, Naomi gets Battleground off for reasons, and gets to be the champion for reasons, with her stupid Christmas title belt for reasons. Charlotte starts complaining about why is Lana in the match. Tamina defends Lana, which prolongs that story. We don't really know how that's going. Shane says that everybody's feeling a little bit aggressive tonight. He makes Charlotte and Becky versus Natty and Tamina in a tag team match. Carmella shows up with legal papers from her lawyer demanding that Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan reinstate James Ellsworth that get ripped up by Shane McMahon. So Lana gets insulted, Carmella gets made to look like a fucking goofball, everybody else needs to earn a title match, Lana doesn't get to wrestle tonight, Carmella gets fucked, Naomi gets the night off, and the rest of them get to wrestle in a meaningless tag team match. I don't know. I don't want to say the downfall of the whole division is because of who currently holds the championship, but... the downfall of the whole division is because of who holds the championship at the moment. Let's just be real. Let's just do that hard thing that people don't like to do and tell the truth for a second. Yeah. Shinsuke Nakamura versus... I almost said Shinsuke versus Nakamura. That's how tired and shitty I feel. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Baron Corbin doesn't happen because Nakamura tosses his jacket on Baron Corbin as he's making his entrance. They brawl up the ramp. The brawl presses into the crowd and goes back to the ramp again. There's a pull apart and Corbin fucks off with his briefcase as Nakamura taunts him in the ring. Later on we find out that this is going to happen at Battleground and nobody is surprised. Oh no. Sorry. Becky and Charlotte versus Natty and Tamina. The one thing I do like about SmackDown is Tamina hasn't meant anything on the roster for a long time, and they're starting to make her look like a powerhouse. And yeah, it's a little contrived because they're making her the Nia Jax of SmackDown, but that's okay because sometimes I think she's pulling it off. I think she's pulling off the I'm a SmackDown version of Nia Jax better than Nia Jax is, and I'm starting to really come around on Nia Jax, so that really says something for both of them. Becky and Tamina start. Clubbing blows by Tamina, boot by Becky, a leg drop and an elbow drop. Knee drop by Charlotte, back elbow by Tamina, kitchen sink and a hair takedown by Natty, leg lariat by Becky, exploder suplex, and Becky eats the steps on the outside. Headlock by Natty and a corner tackle, double mudhole stomp by Natty and Tamina. Lana shows up at ringside. For reasons. Headlock by Tamina, double mudhole stomp again by the heels, boot by Becky, back elbows and chops by Charlotte, boot and a knee drop by Charlotte, and a capture suplex by Charlotte. That was fucking pretty. Lana distracts, there's a blind tag that nobody sees, super kick by Tamina gets the win for the heels. It's all good. Natty, I really struggle a lot. You guys know, I've said this multiple times on this show, I struggle a lot to give a shit about Natty, but I'm really happy for Tamina. Not only that her team won, but that she was the one that got the pin decisively. Yeah, it was off a distraction, but she's a heel, so whatever. And the last thing we see before we go to commercial break is Tamina and Natty and Lana all bragging from the ramp. All 5 of these women are going to fight at Battleground. Your Money in the Bank holder, who's basically the #1 contender in waiting, and your bullshit champion are not on the show. Oh yes, backstage Maria yells at Chad Gable because she's looking for Sami Zayn. After the commercial break, Sami Zayn finds Maria, who ignores him, and then basically, once he has their attention, he says, I came here to apologize. I came here to find out why you guys are demanding an apology from me. I'm done apologizing. Every time I'm going somewhere, be it to a ring, be it to a pay-per-view match, etc., seems like your little lovin' is in my way. And then he looks at Mike Kanellis, and that's all you need to say about that. He says, I get it. You're the lover. She's the fighter. Ha ha ha. And then he laughs at his own joke, which is very Sami Zayn. He gets slapped in the face by Maria, and then he gets a flower vase busted over his head by Mike Kanellis, followed up by Maria and her fucking resting bitch face that tells him, hey, Sami, sometimes love hurts. When this guy debuts, when he actually has a match, I'm not going to give a shit about the match. I'm going to be looking at Maria at ringside. Oh, and fuck it. Corbin versus Nakamura is official for Battleground, but I already said that. They do a Western-style version of the Fashion Files because they're in Texas. I'm not going to lie, I fast-forwarded through it this time. They're funny, but I mean, I started watching SmackDown late, I had to fast-forward something. And I came to the end of what I was able to fast-forward on my TiVo to see Ryder and Mojo bickering about the Battle Royal, because a Battle Royal is every man for himself. Ryder. Rusev and Owens versus Cena and Styles. Who do you think won this one? Rusev and Cena collar and elbow tie up to start, headlock by Rusev and a tackle, shoulder tackles by Cena, snake eyes and a face buster, boot by Owens and a beatdown and a mud hole by Rusev, one punch knockdown by Rusev, and they trade some more punches. Spin kick by Rusev, who then misses a headbutt. Hot tag to AJ Styles, who comes in on fire with the forearms and the low clothesline, and a back elbow by Rusev and a calf crusher by Styles. Mounted punches by Owens, running Senton into a sleeper. Punches, Senton, sleeper. The momentum of that is very, very strange, but it's also very, very Kevin Owens. Clothesline by Owens, body shots by Rusev, and a spin kick. Bear hug by Rusev, enziguri by Styles. Cena hits the rolling shoulder tackles on Owens and hits the 5-knuckle shuffle, aka he hits the 5 moves of doom in between that I didn't write down. Boot by Rusev, phenomenal forearm by Styles. Styles hits a Pele into an attitude adjustment because fuck the heels, and Cena and AJ Styles get the win. Cena and AJ Styles do the face-and-face thing at the end. Cena more than once hands AJ Styles his belt, raises his hand, etc. It's that, I respect you, we both won tonight, we came together as a team tonight to get the victory, rah, but I'm still coming for your title. Now, I said this about the Intercontinental Championship a while ago because there was a very brief period of time on Raw where you had Ambrose, Miz, Rollins, Wyatt, and Balor all sort of in that Intercontinental ball. It didn't end up that way. They all split off into their separate feuds, and none of them really grabbed the Intercontinental Championship except for Miz, which is awesome, and Ambrose kept trying, and the other guys went off and did other things. Now, if this is going to be your United States Championship title picture, AJ Styles, John Cena, Rusev, and Kevin Owens, that's not too shabby, because AJ Styles in his opening promo said, one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to prove that this title should have never been overlooked. I'm going to give more prestige to it. He's going to do the open challenge thing again, which is great, but really he's going to, for lack of a better term, breathe new life into the U.S. Championship. If that's what they're trying to do, you take these 4 guys, if you feel like it, you throw in Sami Zayn and Ty Dillinger. Yeah, they're both Canadian, but whatever. Big flag over there. Oh, yes. Take those 6 guys alone. Ziggler can go in and out of that if you want him to. Jinder Mahal, when he loses the main title, can go for the U.S. title and still do his USA sucks thing. You got a hell of a United States Championship division there, if that's the direction they're going. But do we really think that John Cena and AJ Styles are going to stay in a mid-card title picture for very long? I don't. You might. Let me know what you think down in the box below. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going. There's been a lot of them. I'll talk to you later. I'm tagging out.